Hi everyone. This video is going to be about depression. It's going to be a little different because I'm kind of just rambling about depression. I don't have specific topics picked out. So I feel like when we talk about depression, some people have gotten to a point where they feel hopeless. They feel like there is no light at the end of the tunnel. And they've genuinely become convinced that they're incapable of experiencing happiness or fulfillment in their everyday lives. But this isn't true. This is just something that your brain has begun to tell you or began to tell you at some point, and then you have now internalized that persona of sadness and being somebody who is incapable of feeling happy. Because everybody is capable of feeling a range of emotions. It's not always happiness. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. But most people are capable of experiencing periods of happiness. So maybe you're somebody that started experiencing depression at a young age. Maybe you started experiencing sad moods before it really even made sense for you to be sad. And then maybe that persistent low mood continued into high school when you were a teenager, or then beyond into adulthood. Now, this kind of depression is depression that is not linked to anything else around you, okay? So we're talking about organic depression. Organic depression can start for somebody at a young age. And it's not linked to a trauma. It's not linked necessarily to anything except for chemicals in your brain. So if you have surroundings that are optimal, if your surroundings are ideal and the people around you are thriving and happy and you're not living in a war-torn environment, or you're not in an environment that is abusive or just not conducive to your overall well-being. But regardless of those things, you still experience a persistent low mood, even though everything around you appears to be okay and is, for the most part, okay. That is what we call organic depression, because it doesn't depend upon any other factors. It doesn't matter if there was just a death, or if somebody's being bullied at school, or if everything around them is perfect. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with external factors. It's everything to do with chemicals in the brain. So that's organic depression. Okay. So then there's also trauma-based depression, where somebody has a trauma when they're young. They might experience something upsetting, life-shattering, hard to watch, hard to deal with, and then they have a persistent low mood after that. And that is a trauma-based depression. And it could have links to a mood disorder. It could have a pattern of low mood and then higher mood, low mood, higher mood, or maybe you're somebody that just rides a low mood. Either way, this is depression that stems from a trauma in the past. Moving on, there is circumstantial depression. So circumstantial depression means that you are depressed because of your surroundings. You're depressed because the surroundings are not optimal, because you are in a home where you're constantly fighting with people, or you're working a job where you are miserable, or you can't sleep at night because your partner doesn't come home until late and you're worried about what they're doing. These are circumstantial factors that can cause somebody to feel depressed, but it's not organic and it's not necessarily trauma-based, right? So these are kind of like my differentiations of the kinds of depression. And then there's also like grief depression, like loss, like after somebody dies, obviously you're going to be depressed for an unforeseeable amount of time. It's hard, grief is grief. You can't really put a time on it. There's no time stamp on grief. So the point of this is all of these depressions can be absolutely improved. They can be fixed. They can even be cured. And even if your depression didn't start in childhood from a trauma or from a certain starting point, like you can't remember the first time that you ever felt depressed, or none of that matters in the end. What matters is that you continue to move forward. So even if your depression didn't start until adulthood, that's okay. The point of me saying that the depressions that start from childhood is to emphasize the fact that some people do go their entire lives feeling depressed and really never feel much reprieve from that. And they get to a point where they don't remember how to feel happy anymore. Here's the good news. Regardless of how it started or what it looks like now or what it looked like then, you can make it better. I promise you can make it better. It's complicated, it's messy, but it really is achievable. So if we're talking about organic depression, most likely you will need medication or some sort of therapy, individualized therapy, tailored to you to address the chemical imbalance and the behaviors and habits that you've picked up due to that chemical imbalance over time. Also, there could be a combination of factors, right? Some people are organically depressed. They have a chemical imbalance as well as being in an environment that is not conducive to their well-being. And they could also have a traumatic past. And when people do have a combination of factors at play, it can make it even more difficult for them to heal, but still, it's doable. So again, for organic depression, most likely medications and therapy, right? For trauma-based depression, same thing. Therapy tailored to you, EMDR, different therapies that are emerging to treat trauma and trauma-informed care in combination, again, with medications. And then, if it is circumstantial, if it's a circumstantial depression, then you have to start to pinpoint what is the underlying issue. What is the problem? What is it that is making you feel so uneasy and unsettled? Is it your job? Is it something going on with your partner? Is it something going on with your family? Is it something in your classes? Is it something just inside of you that doesn't feel right? What is it? And then start to heal that. You cannot expect to heal in an environment that hurts you. So if you're still in the same environment where the trauma happened or where these things are occurring that are making you depressed, then you can't realistically expect to feel better in that same setting unless you can start to shift your perspective a lot, which is also possible, but it is better to try to eliminate whatever stressors you can that you know are contributing to your depression. And then next, after you've eliminated causes that are major factors of your depression, you can move on to then implementing medication and or certain therapies that can help you to retrain your brain and retrain your nervous system. You don't deserve to live in a body that is constantly riding that low mood and never feeling fulfillment or happiness or joy in the present moment. You deserve to feel those things. And if you can start to figure out the underlying cause for your sadness, then you can start to heal it. But whatever you do, do not believe that you're hopeless or that the situation is hopeless, because it's not. And there is absolutely a brighter tomorrow if you can just believe that. Thank you for being here always.